Now, from the Columbia Basin, your local news source, this is iFIBER 1 News, presented in high definition. The #1 source for real-time local news, local sports headlines, and our very own Weather Center forecast covering the entire Columbia Basin. With your iFIBER 1 News team, reporting news in real time as it's happening. From the iFIBER Communications HD broadcast studio in Ephrata, Washington, this is iFIBER 1 News, and it starts now.
Welcome to iFIBER 1 News. I'm Sarah Brewer with your news from around the Columbia Basin for Friday, March 22nd. Tonight we review some of the top stories for this week and take a look at a few of your favorites. In sports, we recap Thursday's Gonzaga Bulldogs win against Southern University, and we have the latest weather forecast for the Columbia Basin from the iFIBER 1 Weather Center. First up tonight, earlier in the week we brought you a story out of Australia that could have implications for Grant County farmers. Researchers are looking at how a cow's food intake translates to the amount of food a cow becomes after slaughter. Ryan Lancaster has a story as reported by the Associated Press.
All eyes are on this herd of cows. Scientists from the Australian research body, the Commonwealth Scientific and Industrial Research Organization, are using sensor technology to find out how much a cow consumes. They're interested in how this translates into the amount of meat a cow packs on over the course of its life. It's hoped that understanding a cow's eating habits will lead to better management of cattle and a more efficient use of grass. Paul Greenwood, a scientist from the New South Wales Primary Industries Department, says every move and every sound is being watched and recorded.
The cattle that we have here have what we call a smart ear tag with a range of sensors on them and other devices to allow us to transmit data. And we also have a sensor on the halter of these animals so we can pick up things such as sounds associated with grazing to allow us to characterise the amount of time animals spend grazing, the selectivity of animals within the pasture sward, and other behaviours that might be associated with the amount of feed that animals consume.
Cameras have been installed to help scientists link the data to cow behaviour. IT specialist Phil Valencia says they're watching every step the animals make.
We've never been able to look at animals and herds of cattle and sheep for long durations and get this level of understanding of what they're doing on a microsecond by microsecond basis.
Greenwood says it's the first time such research has been done with animals in the field.
Most of the work that's been done so far has been done in pens and usually fed, I suppose, diets in a more artificial situation, which doesn't necessarily relate to animals out in their grazing environment.
After calculating how much they eat, this herd will be followed through to slaughter. The meat the animals yield will be carefully weighed and balanced against the amount of grass they consumed in the field. Ian Purvis is an animal sciences expert from the Commonwealth Scientific and Industrial Research Organization. He says using the results of this study, scientists will be able to breed more efficient cattle.
It's really challenging research. I mean, it'll take us 5 years to get to the point where we've got the information to enable us to select the most efficient animals. And ideally, the way that will play out is that we'll use DNA technology to select those animals, having identified the DNA variants that are associated with the more efficient animals in terms of feed intake.
A little closer to home, our own young scientists had a chance to demonstrate their research this week at Ephrata Middle School. Here with the story is Ryan Lancaster.
Hundreds of people turned out for the Ephrata Middle School's annual science fair this week. The fair was a month in the making, as each student was required to collect between 20 and 30 days worth of data. On Tuesday night, students presented their findings to the public to gain an extra 10% on their final grades. 7th grade science teacher Jason Downer said the fair draws more people each year.
We average somewhere about 3 to 500 people come through. People come, people go. There's a lot of activities going on tonight. Kind of a community event. Kind of promotes Ephrata Middle School as being one of the top middle schools in the state, which we're quite proud of.
There were a wide range of topics chosen by students this year, including food preservation, chewing gum, plants, sports equipment, the printing press, and autism.
The investigative question was, how do autistic people react to certain sounds? I experimented with 2 trash can lids banging together, a cat meowing, a door closing, and a fork falling on the floor.
Each time students presented their findings to someone at the fair, their name was placed into a drawing for Extreme Science Fair t-shirts and other prizes awarded by Principal Jill Palmquist. The projects were rated by teachers, and awards will be given out at the end of the year for most original and most scientific projects. One 7th grader, Caden Johnson, created a video to present his data. Science teacher Gary Weddle says the science projects and the fair are important because students need to complete similar state requirements in high school to graduate.
We have for students an appraisal sheet in which they need to meet specific recommendations from the state for how to create and conduct their investigations. This is important. By the time students hit 10th grade, it's a graduating requirement here at Ephrata Middle School.
For iFIBER 1 News, this is Ryan Lancaster reporting.
Some great projects and some great kids. One story that caught the attention of many viewers this week was about a new place to play in Moses Lake. Here with the story is Spencer Graham.
The local hotspot for family fun in Moses Lake, formerly known as Skyline Mini Golf, is now under new management. R.J. McFadden bought the establishment last month and is making plans to retain one of the community's old favorites.
You know, the place has been here for a long time, and the old owners were going to shut it down, and I said, well, hey, you know, everyone in Grant County, Moses Lake, whether you're in Moses Lake, Othello, Quincy, Odessa, you know, wherever you're at, Ephrata, they love coming up here to the miniature golf course. And I figured if I give it a new name and a new vibe, people will really enjoy coming up here. So
McFadden hopes to get the community involved to keep the family-friendly event running by hosting birthday parties, company events, and tournaments for charity. A Putt-Putt for Cancer charity tournament will be held in the near future.
Yeah, and just, you know, trying to do different things in the community, trying to get the kids involved, trying to get the schools involved, daycares, etc. My mom took me here as a little boy, me and my sister actually, and we had a lot of fun. It was a blast.
The course is located on Airway Drive in Moses Lake. For more information, find Moses Lake Miniature Golf Course on Facebook or call 509-770-1717. For iFIBER 1 News, this is Spencer Graham.
Thanks, Spencer. Each of the people you see here has warrants for their arrest and is wanted by various law enforcement agencies. If you see any of these people, the DOC asks that you do not attempt to detain or apprehend them, but to call the police. You can also call the Department of Corrections at 509-764-6180 during the day or 509-762-1160 after 5 p.m. We will be back after these messages with the latest from our iFIBER 1 Weather Center, sports, and more news.